She is sitting right across from you. The conversation is flowing. Everything feels natural, easy, maybe even a little electric. And then without even realizing she is doing it, she reaches up and touches something, a specific part of her body. A gesture so small, so seemingly insignificant, that most men completely miss it and move on. But that gesture, it just told you everything, not with words, not with a confession, with her body, the most honest communicator any human being has. And the men who know how to read it never have to wonder where they stand. They already know. Today we are going deep into the psychology of touch, specifically the self-touch signals that women display when they are genuinely attracted to someone. These are not random habits. They are not nervous tics that happen with everyone. They are involuntary, biological responses triggered by one specific thing, your presence. And once you learn to recognize them, you will never look at a conversation the same way again. You will see what was always there, hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone who knew where to look. Let us start with the foundation, because before we get into the specific signals, you need to understand why this happens at all. When a woman is genuinely attracted to someone, her nervous system activates. Her body enters a state of heightened awareness, a kind of charged alertness. That is the biological signature of real attraction. Heart rate increases slightly. Skin becomes more sensitive. Awareness of the physical self intensifies. And in response to all of that internal activation, her hands naturally drift toward the most sensitive, most significant parts of her body. Not consciously, not deliberately, it just happens. Psychologists call this self-touch behavior, and it has been studied extensively as one of the most reliable nonverbal indicators of attraction and positive emotional engagement. The key thing to understand is this: these gestures are not something she is choosing to do. They are something her body is doing in response to how she feels, which makes them, in a very real sense, completely impossible to fake and completely difficult to hide. So let us talk about them, one by one, in detail. The first and most powerful self-touch signal is the neck. The neck is one of the most psychologically significant areas of the human body. It is vulnerable. It houses vital structures: the pulse, the windpipe, the pathways that sustain life. In animal behavior research, exposing the neck is a universal signal of trust and openness, the opposite of a defensive posture. And in human attraction psychology, the neck carries the same deep significance. When a woman touches her neck in front of you, lightly running her fingers along the side of it, resting her hand at the base of her throat, or simply exposing it by tilting her head to one side, she is doing something her body decided to do, not her conscious mind. It is a vulnerability signal. It is her nervous system communicating that she feels safe enough in your presence to let her guard down, that she is not in a defensive, closed-off state, that something about you is making her feel open. There is also a secondary layer to this signal that most people never consider. The neck is one of the most nerve-rich, sensation-sensitive areas of the body. When someone touches their own neck during a state of attraction, part of what is happening is a subconscious response to heightened physical sensitivity. She is more aware of her body around you, more aware of her skin, and her hands are reflecting that awareness without her permission. Watch for the combination if she tilts her head slightly while touching the side of her neck. During a conversation with you, that is not one signal, that is two simultaneously, and two signals appearing at the same moment tell a much louder story than either one alone. The second signal is her hair, and this one is so common it has almost become a cliché, but the reason it is so commonly observed is precisely because it is so consistently real. Running fingers through her hair, tucking a strand behind her ear, twirling a section between her fingers, adjusting it repeatedly even when it does not need adjusting. All of these are variations of the same underlying response. When women are in a state of nervous, excited energy around someone they are attracted to, the hands find the hair, almost every time. But here is what most people miss about this particular signal. It is not just about nervous energy. There is a grooming element to it as well. On a deeply instinctive level, touching the hair is connected to the desire to be seen in the best possible way. It is a beautifying gesture. It is her body saying, without consulting her brain first, I want to look good right now. I am aware that I am being perceived by this specific person, and I want that perception to be favorable. That instinct, showing up in real time, is one of the clearest indicators of genuine attraction you will ever observe. And pay attention to when it happens. If she touches her hair right after you say something, right after a compliment, right after a moment of connection, right after you make her laugh, that timing is not coincidental. That is her body responding in real time to something you just created between you. The third signal is the lips, and this one carries perhaps the most direct Psychological weight of all the self-touch signals. When a woman touches her lips, during a conversation with you lightly, pressing a finger to them, running her tongue briefly over them, biting the lower lip gently, or simply resting her fingertips near her mouth, her subconscious mind is doing something very specific. It is drawing attention to an area of the body that is deeply associated with intimacy, with closeness, with the kind of connection that goes beyond conversation. Research in psychology and nonverbal communication consistently identifies lip touching as one of the strongest attraction signals in the human behavioral repertoire. It activates in situations of genuine desire, of heightened interest, of wanting something or someone more than the current moment allows. When a woman's hands drift to her lips around you, her mind has already moved beyond where the conversation currently is. She is feeling something, and her body is revealing it. There is also a self-soothing component here. The lips are highly sensitive, one of the most nerve-dense areas of the entire face. When someone is in a state of emotional intensity, touching a sensitive area of the body can have a calming, regulating effect. She is not necessarily aware of doing it. She is just responding to the intensity of what she is feeling in your presence. And that intensity, that inability to stay completely calm and regulated around you, is one of the most honest signals of attraction that exist. The fourth signal is the collarbone and upper chest area. This one is slightly subtler than the previous three, which is exactly why most men miss it entirely. When a woman lightly touches or traces the collarbone, rests her fingers at the top of her chest, or plays with a necklace sitting at her neckline, she is engaging in a self-touch behavior that is closely related to the neck signal, but with an additional layer of meaning. The upper chest in body language psychology is associated with vulnerability and emotional exposure, unlike the arms or hands, which are neutral and frequently touched by others in social contexts. The chest area is personal, protected. People do not casually touch this area of themselves in neutral interactions. It appears in moments of genuine emotional engagement when something is being felt deeply, when someone is genuinely moved or genuinely activated by what is happening around them. When she reaches for this area during a conversation, with you touching a necklace and pulling it back and forth, lightly resting her hand at her collarbone, letting her fingers trail there briefly, her body is telling you that what is happening between you is registering on an emotional level, not just an intellectual or social one. Something real is being felt, and it is being felt right there in the chest, in the place where real feelings live. If she's wearing a necklace, pay particular attention to whether she plays with it. When the conversation gets more personal, more genuine, more connected, the necklace becomes almost a focal point for the nervous energy she is managing. And managing nervous energy means the energy is real. It is there because you put it there. The fifth signal is the wrist and forearm. This one surprises people when they first hear it, but the psychology behind it is fascinating. The inner wrist is one of the most intimate, vulnerable parts of the body. It carries visible veins, a readable pulse, evidence of life, of physical reality, of the body's inner workings made visible. Historically and cross-culturally, the exposure of the inner wrist is associated with openness and trust. When a woman touches or exposes her inner wrist in your presence, resting her hand face up on the table, touching the inside of her own wrist, rotating her arm in a way that makes the inner forearm visible and accessible, she is engaging in a submissive openness signal, not submission in any diminishing sense. Openness, accessibility, a nonverbal communication of I am not closed to you. I am not protecting myself from you. I am here and I am open to what this could be. This is one of the signals you are least likely to have heard about before, which means it is one of the signals you are most likely to have seen and dismissed as nothing. The next time you are in a conversation with a woman who interests you, watch the position of her hands. Watch whether the inner wrist is facing you or facing away. That orientation, subtle as it is telling you something about where she stands. The sixth signal is the knee and upper leg, and this one almost always appears when the attraction has built to a certain point. When a woman is seated near you, and she touches her own knee or upper leg, lightly resting her hand there, rubbing her palm along her thigh almost absent-mindedly, or touching the area in response to something you have said, pay close attention. This is a signal of physical self-awareness that shows up when attraction has moved past the early, uncertain stage and into something more definite, something more felt. It connects to the same principle as the neck and chest signals, heightened sensitivity to the physical self in the presence of someone who is creating that heightened state. Her hands are going to the areas of her body that her nervous system has made more aware, and the fact that it is happening in your presence during your conversation While you are the one filling her field of attention that is not incidental, you are the cause of what her body is expressing. Now here is what you need to understand about all of these signals, taken together. No single one of them, in isolation, tells you the whole story. A woman who touches her hair once might just be adjusting it. A woman who briefly touches her lips might be thinking about something she wants to say. Context always matters. What you are looking for is not a single moment but a pattern. When 2 or 3 of these signals appear within the same conversation, when she is touching her neck and playing with her hair and her eyes, keep coming back to you. That cluster of signals is something you can read with confidence. The other crucial variable is consistency. Does it happen once, or does it happen every time you are around her? The signals that mean the most are the ones that appear reliably, repeatedly, across different interactions and different settings. Those are not coincidences. Those are patterns. And patterns reveal truth in a way that isolated moments never can. There is also something important to understand about what to do with this knowledge. Recognizing these signals gives you information. Valuable, real information about where someone stands emotionally. But information is only as good as what you do with it. The right response to seeing these signals is not to immediately accelerate or push. It is to match, to open up in return, to let her know, through your own body language and genuine presence, that you are seeing her and that what she is feeling is safe to keep feeling. The men who understand attraction at this level, who can read the silent language the body speaks, are not the ones who use it to gain power over someone. They are the ones who use it to create genuine connection, to respond to vulnerability with presence, to recognize that when a woman's body is reaching toward you in these quiet, involuntary ways, she is doing something brave. She is letting something be visible that she has not yet put into words. And the most powerful thing you can do in that moment is not to exploit the signal. It is to honor it, to respond with the kind of calm, grounded confidence that tells her without words, in the same silent language she has been speaking, that it is safe to keep moving closer, that you see her, that you are paying attention, that whatever is building between you, you are not going to let it collapse from carelessness or ignorance, because that quality of genuine, aware presence is what separates the men who understand connection from the ones who spend their whole lives guessing. And now you are no longer guessing. You know exactly what to look for. You know what it means when her hand drifts to her neck. You know what it means when she reaches for her hair right after your eyes meet. You know what it means when her fingers find her lips, her collarbone, her wrist. You know what her body is saying when her words are staying silent. And knowing that, really knowing it, changes everything about how you show up in every single interaction from this point forward. She is already speaking. She has been speaking this whole time. Now you can finally hear her.